Good afternoon, and welcome to another Pax Omega version of Diatribes from the Voice of Doom. Now here's your peace-loving and pacifist host, Voice of Doom. That was a cluster bomb. Okay, I'll do another diatribe since I got nothing better to do. I was asked by my stalwart fan Nick to comment on this Sound of Freedom movie business. And it's all over the internet right now. It's the flavor of the day. And it's perplexing to watch the reaction to that movie, because it should be an eye-opening movie, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, and yet apparently the peaceniks in the left are up in arms against this movie because it's all lending credence to this QAnon business. Now, I didn't see the movie, and I'm torn between going to see the movie and not. Basically, I boycotted Hollywood for the last 20 years. I didn't plan on spending another dime in any theater. I don't spend any money on Netflix, Roku, Hulu, Fuku, Duku, or Roku. I don't care who it is. If there's money involved, I don't pay for it. And it's not just because I'm stingy. I do not want to support Hollywood. If you go back into time since the first cranked camera, or even Nickelodeons, were invented, the whole medium is based on corruption, greed, and propaganda. Edison, a jerk. He invented the Nickelodeon in a way. He developed it, and when people started using his patents or started showing things without his permission, he went in and busted the place up. Hollywood gets bigger. People pay their nickel to go see the movies. And the stars are being abused, okay? Yeah, they live high on the hog and they die at 50 of drug overdoses, because they're given lots of money to work their asses off and be sexually abused and be drugged for the enrichment of studio heads. And they're all evil. Shirley Temple, abused. Judy Garland, abused. Name any starlet, name any female star, femme fatale, abused. Or they abused themselves. Sank into alcoholism, sank into drug abuse. So Hollywood's a den of iniquity. It's soaked in sin and blood. And now the lefties are saying this Sound of Freedom is not a good movie to be having because it's perpetuating the propaganda that there's child trafficking and sex slavery, which everybody knows there is. And the reality is probably much worse than our imaginations can possibly come up with. But I'm not going to see the movie until I can see it for free. And I don't even know if I want to see it then, because movies affect me very profoundly. I watched Life is Beautiful once. I can never watch it again. It's too much to take. And that was a comedy. So I can't watch a movie as powerful as that without having it weigh on me for the rest of my life. But I could imagine how the movie goes. And I have my theories about why the Hollywood elite don't want that particular subject to be talked about. And they use QAnon as a straw man, fall guy, scapegoat conspiracy theorists nuts to say why they're against that movie. Now, there's a very real possibility that the reason they're behind that movie is because Hollywood does child sacrifice, okay? They do drink the blood of children. Now, either literally or figuratively. But let's move on. I will talk more about this as I see fit, as the ideas occur to me. But it is rather strange how the left wing, who used to be so pacifist, anti-war, give peace a chance. War is not healthy for children and other living beings and flowers, whatever that saying was back in the 60s. Oh, the left was out in the street burning down campuses, burning down buildings, occupying government structures against the Vietnam War. And they had a certain noble righteousness to their anger and their protests, because Vietnam was stupid. And I'm not going to disparage the veterans. I've already talked about that 2 years ago. That you do not link the warrior with the reasons we fight the war. Very simple. I can respect someone stepping up to do their duty as the powers that be see fit. I can respect that without respecting the reasons they're going to war. So don't start with that with me. Do not. Now, since this Ukraine business has started, I haven't heard hide nor hair of any anti-war activists saying that this might not be right and we have no business being there and we're depleting our resources and etc., etc., etc. The only protesters I see are deemed right-wing conspiracy theorists and flag-waving white supremacists and patriarchs. So everything's ass backwards now. I don't know what happened to the left, but they seem to be bound and determined to keep this war going. Now, there used to be days in what used to be the United States that our main goal was to negotiate the end to war, even though we were funding it. I mean, you can't keep funding things until everything's blown up, then what are you going to blow up? So you got to end them sooner or later. You negotiate. You negotiate peace and all's well with the world until the one side decides the coast is clear and they take out that part of what they wanted. Like Vietnam. The peace treaty in 1973, I believe. Yes, peace in Vietnam. And like about a little over 1 year later, North Vietnam just plowed through South Vietnam and took it lock, stock, and barrel. And the whole Southeast Asian peninsula went down to communism. Just what the right-wing idiots, the Goldwaters, and everybody didn't want happened. So we lost 55,000 American troops and gained nothing. But where are the protesters now? They're not protesting. Why aren't they protesting? Because Petri Dish is in office and Petri Dish is their guy. So they dare not say anything against the policies of Petri Dish, which is the perpetuation of war, the destruction and killing of people, both guilty and innocent. Now you're going to hitch your wagon to the star that's plummeting, the meteor that's plunging into the atmosphere by adhering to the philosophies of Petri Dish. I really feel sorry for you, and it's not this lifetime. You're going to have billions of lifetimes of misery, and you don't know it, and I don't need to explain it to you. It's going to happen. Okay, cluster bombs. I remember about a year ago when the Ukraine debacle started that Russia started using cluster bombs and vacuum bombs, and I was commiserating and saying how this is wrong. That just innocent people are being taken out. We're sending cluster bombs to Ukraine. That Petri dish said it's because they're out of ammunition. Now, when he says they're out of ammunition, he's saying they don't have enough weaponry to kill more people. It's just translated into proper English. Not they, them, and not ze, zer. They need more ammunition to kill more people, and then they will be killed. And as long as we're making money in what used to be the United States, all's well. Now, I guess the politicians and the politicos, even though they're on MSNBC and use the medium and videotape the medium, forget that these videotapes don't go away. They don't self-destruct in 10 seconds like in Mission Impossible. They stay. So immediately the more on the right side of the media starts playing old clips of the little red-haired girl when she was the spokesperson for Petri dish, which she better get it together, because if she doesn't start doing good somehow, coming clean and exposing the whole thing, she is going to live billions of lifetimes in misery. I don't care what nice house she has now. I don't care how much she makes at MS. She's in for billions of lifetimes of misery. I wish she'd listen to me and try to take heed. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in hell. Now, the little red-haired girl said, when asked about these cluster bombs that Russia was using, she said that would be considered a war crime. Now, Petri dish just did an interview with some soft soap, sycophantic apparatchik of the left. This is the only time he'll talk to anybody is if he knows he has an easy audience. And they asked about cluster bombs. Now, did they say it wasn't more than a year ago that your spokesperson said that was a war crime? Now, is it a war crime now? That would have been a very easy question to really put Petri dish on the ropes. Of course, they're not going to ask that. They just ask about, well, do you think it's right to send cluster bombs? Our cluster bombs are safer. They're out of ammunition. We've made cluster bombs much safer, so those clusters of bombs that go flying off every which way will take out the right people. And we've made it so they all explode when they land. There won't be any shells or detritus left over from those cluster bombs for some kid to step on 2 years later or 5 years later and explode, which still happens in countries that we were in 20, 40, 30, 60, 80 years ago. They're still stepping on landmines. So I don't know how much longer we're going to accept this evil. But I will say that they're turning a blind eye to cluster bombs. I don't see any hippies out on the street saying, give peace a chance. Don't see not one. And here's my solution to how we can change their minds. Very simple. So simple. Bring back the draft for people between 18 and 21, Gen Zers and their predecessors, people coming after them. Bring back the draft and send them off to be cluster bombed. Then you see how fast the left might change their mind. There might be a little bit of an eyebrow rising after these purple-haired, nose rings, face tattooed, ADHD, non-binary, gender fluid cats and dogs get conscripted into the armed services against their will. You've been chosen. You're going into basic training. It's not going to be hard. We don't make it hard anymore. If you can run around a track once, then you're fit to go to war. And then we'll see what happens. I would love to see that. Bring back the draft right now, today, and start sending them here, there, and everywhere. Send them to the border, send them to the cartels, send them to Ukraine, send them to Taiwan, send them to the China Sea. Let's just see all these Gen Zers out there on an aircraft carrier or out on a battleship or a cruiser. or a whatever, Titan submarine or whatever the hell you want to call them. I'd love to see that. Then we'll have real burlesque. We'll have a real fun time watching. I'm beyond the age of being conscripted. If they get around to making me go out just like Schicklgruber did in the waning hours of World War II and send the old men and the kids out to fight, then it's over anyway, right? So I'll leave it there. I think I said enough, and I think it wasn't too bad for being totally off the cuff. Didn't plan it at all. You see how good I am? I said more in 15 minutes than most of these guys say in a lifetime. So I'll leave it there and enjoy the clusters. Bye.